Hi, this is David Domas. I'm doing an in-depth book review today on Get the Aha, Discover Your Positioning DNA and Dominate Your Competition by Andy Cunningham. I hope you enjoy. One of the things that really intrigued me about this book is that the author, most famously, worked with Steve Jobs. And she led Apple's PR firm when they got started. And to just give some additional credibility to what she did, when he started Next and bought Pixar, he brought her along to continue working on the positioning and branding for those companies. So obviously, if Steve Jobs believed in what she was doing, there's a lot we all can learn from this book. That's why I wanted to read the book, and I'm going to go and take a deep dive into the information that's included in this book. And the first thing we're going to look at is really the foundation for this. Her philosophy is positioning DNA, which is completely focused on who you are as a company and why your company matters. In her position in DNA, there's three kinds of companies that she's identified: a mother, a mechanic, and a missionary. And we'll go into a lot more detail on those later. The book shows you why you must understand your company's DNA. First, it helps you to create your rational, authentic position, who you are. Second, it helps you tie in more powerful emotional expression to your branding, why you matter. So building your brand off your DNA will help you sell more stuff. So really, you got to understand your DNA first before you start the branding message. Ms. Cunningham shows how companies that identify their DNA while building and communicating their true competitive advantages in a more meaningful way have a leg up on the competition. So here's really the foundation to Ms. Cunningham's work, really understanding a company's DNA. She's worked with hundreds of companies over the years, lots of technology companies, a lot of innovators, and really what she's determined is they really fall under three types. You've got the mother, you've got the mechanic, and you've got the missionary. And let me go into a little more depth. So mothers, they're customer-oriented companies, whom they serve, the experience they create. They measure their success by retention, satisfaction, loyalty. They focus on customers' needs, and really focusing on customers' needs is what mothers do. Mothers spend a tremendous amount of time and money understanding and meeting customer needs. A great example of this that she shares in the book is Zappos. Zappos is a prime example of a mother focused on customer experience. After the training period of 4 to 7 weeks, they offer graduates of the training 1 month's salary to quit. Yeah, they offer a month's salary to quit. And why would they do that? Well, they say, if you don't feel that you're a fit for our customer-centric culture, we'll pay you a month's salary not to work here. That shows that they really care about the customer experience. Another example of a mother is Marriott. They have an incredible budget and spend an incredible amount of time on training their staff on how to meet and exceed customer experience. The book goes into more details of the mother DNA and provides a detailed list of characteristics, but I just want to give you a high-level view so you can see if this is something that may be something that you want to read. Mechanics is the second one, and they're product-oriented companies. Mechanics have a different focus. Mechanics want to build the best products or services. They are focused on being first to market. Mechanics are not focused on customer needs the way mothers are. They are focused on new products that people will want or have to have, even though they have not identified that need yet. Management of mechanic companies discuss products the majority of the time. That's their focus. What product are we going to come out with next? What feature are we going to add? They're always looking to add new and better features to their products. They're focused on winners and losers and often come off as egotistical. Mechanics spend money on product development and sales. A couple companies as a final example is Walmart and McDonald's. They're both mechanics, and really their focus is on selling as much as possible. Now, the third category that we're going to talk about, the third DNA that Ms. Cunningham's identified, is missionaries. And these are concept-oriented companies. Missionaries are idea companies who want to change the world. They are focused on innovation, world-changing, life-altering products and services that disrupt the market. So it's not just a little bit better, they're disrupting the market. While mechanics focus on continual product improvements, missionaries focus on large-scale change. So just to name some companies that were discussed in the book: FedEx, Apple, Salesforce.com, Starbucks, that fall under that missionary category. So an example she gave in the book too is Apple had a failure is fine philosophy. Steve Jobs said, it's okay to fall on your face, just as long as you pick yourself up pretty fast. Going into this example a little deeper is the Apple II defined an entire industry when it was released in 1977. Though Apple was not first to market with an MP3 player, smartphone, or tablet, their devices changed society. Being first to market does not always make you a missionary. It's the companies that can change society, which Apple has done multiple times, that do. Salesforce.com, cloud-based versus the traditional software-based CRM. And what they did was made CRM available to any size company. Let's look at Starbucks. Starbucks was focused on being the third place. Interesting comment. They wanted to be the third place people thought of. Work, home, Starbucks. They changed the coffee industry. So here's some characteristics of missionaries. Just somebody I watch on YouTube and other social media sites is Gary Vaynerchuk. These are people who are focused on customer behavior and ideas during management meetings. It's somebody who focuses on behavior and ideas. He's always looking at what are the trends, what's happening, where is it going to be going, where is it going to be 5 years from now, where is it going to be 10 years from now, and that's why VaynerMedia is doing so well. Some characteristics of missionaries. Missionaries are driven to bring the world a new way of doing things. Innovation is at the core of what they bring to the market. They want to change the current market paradigms. Another great place to find information on how to change market paradigms is the Blue Ocean Shift. That came out not too long ago, and it really focuses on giving you the tools, the techniques, and the ability to go out and discover new markets, to go out in the blue ocean. So just throwing that in there too is just some additional information. And that's really the foundation. So the 3 DNAs, again, mother, mechanic, and missionary. Now, her philosophy also has company genotypes, and I'll be talking about that next. Next, we're going to talk about additional items within the company DNA. If we were looking at building a house, DNA would be the foundation. So the genotypes, which we're going to talk about next, would be the framing. So you'd start to see some structure. So Ms. Cunningham has also developed or identified 2 genotypes for each of the 3 DNAs that she's developed in her system. For mothers, there's 2 genotypes, customer experience or customer segmentation. With the mechanic DNA, you have the product value genotype and you have the product features genotype. And the third DNA type is missionary, and they're really focused on next big thing genotype or cult of personality. At this point, I'd like to share the definition of a genotype. Dictionary.com provides the following definition. Genotype is the genetic makeup of an organization or group of organisms with reference to a single trait or set of traits, or an entire complex of traits. And then the second definition they give is the sum total of genes transmitted from parent to offspring, or the sum total of company genes, I guess the way we'd look at it for this book. So this was developed to help Ms. Cunningham's clients to understand who they are and why they matter. It has simplified the process of positioning any company. At this point, I'd like to go into a little more detail about each of the 6 genotypes. So first, mother DNA, customer experience. As the name states, these companies are completely focused on customer experience. These are companies that hire and train people that are focused on customer satisfaction. They also want customer satisfaction as a key performance indicator. Customer satisfaction is how they measure their success. Disney is a prime example of a customer experience company. Everything they do is about experience. They want it to be the happiest place on earth. They also have one of the most loyal customer bases because of the way they develop experience. The second genotype within Mother is customer segmentation. Companies that fall into the customer segmentation genotype focus on market niches. Whatever the product, the focus is on appealing to a particular customer with a unique preference or need. Many Mother DNA companies have a lifestyle element. Companies like Nike, Porsche, Red Bull, Urban Outfitters. Those are just a few examples. If you look at Nike, they focus on the authentic athlete, or what's considered the weekend warrior. Now, let's step into the third genotype, but this would be the first for the mechanic DNA. Mechanic DNA, genotype product value. Really what product value is what do you get for the money? More for less is their mantra. Walmart, save money, live better. McDonald's, billions served. Product value companies can also be high-end companies. An example in the book is Surf Air, who focuses on affordable private air travel, like an elite version of Southwest. They offer comfortable leather seats, convenient parking, no lines, no bag fees, and no TSA. They offer the benefits of private air travel without the expense. So the fourth genotype, and the second in the mechanic DNA, is product features. These companies focus on new and exciting features. Companies like Samsung, LG, and KitchenAid are examples of feature-driven mechanics. So is Microsoft. They're always talking about the next new product, the new feature, the new update. When Microsoft makes acquisitions, they purchase companies that are also product companies. And really what they're trying to do is just add additional features. Instead of developing those features themselves, they just buy companies to bring that feature to market under the Microsoft heading. Here's a couple examples from Microsoft. So to become part of the internet phone communication space, in 2011, Microsoft bought Skype for $8.5 billion. In 2016, Microsoft bought LinkedIn for $26.2 billion. Reading a little bit more detail on this in Forbes, they list the reasons for the acquisition as providing Microsoft the ability to embed LinkedIn with Skype, its email system, and other applications, helping them become a one-source organization for many enterprises. So next is the fifth genotype and the first in the missionary DNA, and it's the next big thing. These companies are focused on creative vision and changing the behavior of an industry. And this includes companies like Apple, Google, Uber, Salesforce.com, Starbucks. Each changed the landscape of their industry. Here's a quick note that many of these companies really weren't the first to market with these products that they're known for, but they were able to really solidify and understand those markets and become known for them. And though others may have invented them, a lot of times they get the credit for starting an industry. They were just better at it. Here's the sixth genotype and the second in the missionary DNA, and this is cult of personality. As she stated in the book, this was early Apple, Tesla, and Virgin are great examples of cult personality companies. Yes, as most of you would think, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, and Sir Richard Branson are cult of personality leaders. Often, it seems like they willed the success. Ms. Cunningham states that all cult of personality leaders have three things in common. They have a passion for their chosen field, a large vision, and drive to change behavior. Simply stated, it's passion, vision, and drive. Steve Jobs focused on improving people's lives. He wanted well-designed, beautiful, and easy-to-use products. He created a cult around the product. Richard Branson is a more charismatic leader. He relies on his lifestyle and personality versus that of the product. People see the Virgin brand as cool. Tying those first two pieces, so first the company DNA, which is kind of the foundation to everything. So second, we had the genotypes that tie into those DNAs, and that's kind of the framework. And now let's get this information in this book kind of under roof. Let's look at some of the big lessons that are shown in the book. So in the book, Get to Aha, Ms. Cunningham shares several lessons and key ideas to help build on her company DNA structure and the company genotypes. So first, she really looks at yin and yang. Yin and yang is a Chinese philosophy about the whole being greater than the sum of two parts. In the book, yin is the logic, yang is the emotion. So you need to have both yin and yang for maximum impact. In marketing, yin is your positioning, while yang is your branding. To be successful, you must always start with yin to see where your company is positioned logically. Knowing your yin allows you to create hard-hitting emotional branding, which is your yang. To help clarify yin and yang, Ms. Cunningham uses an example of Star Trek. Spock is logical, while Kirk is emotional. The two work together great, and they're much more successful as a team than they would be individually. You need both the logic and you need the emotion, and you got to have a good balance of both to be successful. So this philosophy helps you to reach that. A second key lesson that's in this book is really from a survey that she did with 100 CEOs. She found that over 66% were not happy with their current branding and feel that it is not working. And they find that the main issue is getting buy-in from everybody on their team. That is why getting your positioning right is so important. People will not buy in unless everything lines up with who you are and why you matter. She provides the following example to help us understand the importance of positioning before branding. It's like you're coloring the picture before it's been outlined. You're jumping the gun. The third lesson is positioning is as much about sacrifice as it is about differentiation. Most people want their product or service to be everything to everyone. You need to learn to sacrifice the extra stuff until you're ready to share it. Ms. Cunningham shares a great analogy and example of the reason you must sacrifice for maximum impact. She uses an iceberg as an analogy. Like an iceberg, you only share the most important information. Everything else still remains below the surface. Now, a great example that she provided in the book was Amazon. When they launched in 1994, Jeff Bezos did not state his future vision. He was only focused on becoming the online Barnes & Nobles. In his mind, he wanted to be more, but he kept that below the surface. After 3 years, and after he built the foundation, which was the books, Jeff Bezos showed more of the iceberg. Jeff Bezos said, "Our goal is to move quickly to solidify and extend our current position while we begin to pursue the online commerce opportunities in other areas." So things other than books. And we know where that's gone, since there. If he said in 1994, though, that he wanted to become one of the world's largest retailers, at that point, it would have hurt Amazon's credibility. There was not enough evidence that the internet would be as big as it is now. Now, he's proved the ability of Amazon by focusing on only one market to start. And if you look now, he still is picking one market off at a time. This year they're going to be looking at pharmacies. They're looking at, let's master this market, let's master that market, and he continues to bring more in and to compete with Walmart and everybody else. So the next lesson that we have here in the book was connecting the dots. And just real quick, it's interview all key stakeholders, both internally and externally, to understand the business trajectory, market dynamics, differentiation, customer values, company values, and personality. These all feed into positioning. The next lesson, less is more. So here's something that, it's kind of interesting, and a lot of companies don't follow this. Limiting choice is a key to positioning success. People always think unlimited choices are appealing, but in reality, too many choices cause analysis paralysis. Dr. Barry Schwartz states an overload of options can cause an increase in anxiety, wasted time, and even depression. In the book, Ms. Cunningham references the JAM study. The study showed individuals in a store aisle were 10 times more likely to buy a jar of jam when they reduced the selection. So people who were only shown 6 types of jam were 10 times more likely to buy a jar than the original offering when there were 24 of them in front of them. The study has been duplicated in other industries and all show similar results. In addition, the test showed that people are happier with their purchase when they select from fewer options. Companies need to avoid trying to be all things to all people. Great positioning is about sacrifice. The next lesson is disruptive innovation. Ms. Cunningham references the book The Innovator's Dilemma by Clayton Christian. Disruptive innovation is when an organization transforms an existing market or sector by making things simpler, more convenient, less expensive, or increasing product availability. Usually these companies start out being dismissed by industry leaders because their product is not as good. But over time, they get better and better, and before everyone realizes it, they are forces to be reckoned with. Now, examples in the book are community colleges, discount retailers, urgent care centers, cell phones. In my industry, we look at imported cabinets. They started the same way. People discounted their ability to compete, but in less than 10 years, they have gained large chunks of market share. The next lesson, good artists copy, great artists steal. Now, this is a quote from Steve Jobs, but definitely an important lesson. So what she states in here is that many of the industries were started by companies who fail or have very limited success because later players, the second, third, fourth, 10th company into the industry, figure out how to make a category successful. These companies steal the best ideas from the companies at the bleeding edge and make it better than they originally were. These are the companies who are often remembered as founding an industry, even though they really weren't. Another lesson that's in the book is capitalizing on other companies' success. And really what she says is if you can tie yourself to a larger company, so say you're the McDonald's or Uber of that industry, she points out how powerful it can be to tie your name with an industry leader in another category. It helps your salespeople and prospects to understand how you fit into a market. They know what that company represents. This technique is often used in Hollywood. It's like pitching the movie Days of Thunder as the same as Top Gun, but only in NASCAR. It helps the producers get to aha quicker. It helps them get it. The next lesson is choosing a category because it's who you are as a company, not because it's exciting. An example in the book is how Amazon chose to compete against booksellers Barnes & Noble and Borders, both brick-and-mortar locations, and how Jeff Bezos felt it would be easier to disrupt within a known category. So the next area we're going to talk about is messaging architecture, developing your positioning statement, and message frequency. Some really big ideas from the book Get to Aha. So when we're talking about developing your positioning statement, who you are and why you matter is a key point. This step comes after you've completed all of the other exercises found in the book. You have identified your DNA, your genotype, understand where your company fits into the 6 C's: core, category, community, competition, context, and criteria. In this section of the book, she uses several companies as examples and tells their elevator speeches and the pros and cons of their message. These comparisons are very helpful to anyone that buys and studies the book. Positioning statements pinpoint a company's role or standing in an industry. Additionally, it highlights the category you intend to control. The book also provides a fill-in-the-blank positioning statement to help you build the framework for your own positioning statements. After you draft your positioning statement, there are questions in the book to help ensure you have included everything you need. So the next in your messaging framework that you need to think about is message frequency. And the book examines the marketing rule of 7, which was developed in Hollywood during the 1930s. The rule states that someone must hear or see a message at least 7 times before they will consider action towards a purchase. The book discusses both message channels available to a company. They include owned channels, such as a website, blogs, newsletters, social media. They are also earned channels, which is PR and analyst reactions. There is a third channel, which is paid channel. What's key is all your messages need to sound the same no matter the channel. You need to build a cumulative effect discussed in the Rule of 7. Consider this framework when developing your messaging. What's your target market? What's your differentiator? The category you're in, your value proposition, your positioning statement, key messages, elevator speech, brand archetype, brand personality, brand driver, and what's your narrative? So you really need to consider all of those and make sure that it all lines up. The book also goes into detail about the steps needed to roll out your positioning statement to make sure that everyone in your company is on the same page and buys in. In the book Get to Aha, Ms. Cunningham shares her 6 C's of positioning, 2 of which she identifies as being new and 4 are commonly used in positioning. So those are core, category, community, competition, context, and criteria. Core and criteria are the new C's that have been introduced in this book. The remaining 4 are commonly used. You need a deep understanding of all to have a solid position in the market. The first C is core, which is your company DNA. Again, that's your mother and either your customer experience or customer expectation. Or it's mechanic with a product value or product features focus. And then again, missionary with either a cult of personality or next big thing focus. Now the second C is category. And category is simply where your company is situated in the industry you serve. Within the category section, you need to understand the categories within your industry and exactly where you are positioned. You need to understand where other companies are grouped as well as where you fit in that grouping. Now, you can always create a new category, but category creation is not only for missionaries. Both mothers and mechanics regularly develop new categories, though it is more common for mothers and mechanics to create subcategories. On the flip side, missionaries don't always create categories. An example from the book is Tesla. They are a game changer in the electric car industry, but they did not create the category. Elon Musk took it to the next level by refining the industry. The ones who are remembered are often the individuals who figured out how to be successful in a category. Subcategories often grow based on something that catches the eye of a consumer. Consumers don't know that they want the product or service until it's developed. An example of a successful subcategory is when Chrysler developed the minivan, with the sliding side doors. Ms. Cunningham also states that subcategories are great places for companies to become an industry leader. Why not own a subcategory? Another way you can manage categories is by redefining it. An example of this is when Amazon wanted to become like Borders, just online. Airbnb repositioned what VRBO and HomeAway was doing. Both VRBO and HomeAway were about renting a whole house, while Airbnb lets people rent a room on a couch. Kind of like a bed and breakfast with great online reservation system. Airbnb was founded in 2008 and has already changed the hotel industry. In 2018, Airbnb has already surpassed many large hotel chains in value. A final note on category is try to choose a category that you can own now and in the future. The third C is community, which is a group of customers or prospects that your product or service solves a need for. All other companies that can solve the customer's needs are also in your community. You need to have a deep understanding of why people in your community care about you, how they learn about your products or service, who influences their decisions, and who are the other companies that go after these people in this community. The circle of influence makes up your target audience. A great example in the book is Snap-on Tools. It shows how they influence their target audience. Snap-on tools are sold from trucks that pull up to job sites or shops where contractors and mechanics work. This gives Snap-on tools the ability to be sold right on the spot. When one person on the site buys a tool, it sparks the interest of others who see any other tools they may need. They understand that customers influence other customers. The fourth C is competition. This one can be pretty obvious. Who are your competitors? Ms. Cunningham shares a couple of visual tools she likes to use to help understand the obvious competitors, but also helps you identify what she calls white space, or what another popular book describes as blue ocean opportunity. The first tool is the XY diagram. The X is the axis with inexpensive at the far left and expensive on the far right, while the Y have low ability at the bottom and high ability at the top. Then you place all your competitors in the diagram. Once your competitors are in the diagram, you place your company. Be sure to look for white spaces in those, though. This will help you identify areas where you want to try to take control of. You will repeat this exercise with other competitive consideration. Look at items such as price, ease of use, features, etc. Look at items companies compete on within your industry. The second tool Ms. Cunningham uses is the Steve Blanks diagram. This tool is used to expand thinking of the management team. It helps to eliminate any preconceived positioning thoughts. Ms. Cunningham uses an Indian parable to show how Steve Blank's petal diagram works. She talks about 6 blind monks and an elephant. So each of the monks touches a part of the elephant, and it's a sturdy pillar, said the monk that touched the leg. It's a smooth, hard pipe, said the monk who touched the tusk. It's a thick tree branch, said the monk who touched the trunk. It's a coarse rope, said the monk that touched the tail. It's a broad, thin fan, said the monk who touched the ear. It's a firm wall, said the monk who only touched the flank. Though all the monks were correct, they didn't have a clear message until they combined the perspectives to come up with the whole message. So the petal diagram helps you do this and helps you position your company in the most powerful way. The fifth C is context. The context in positioning is looking at the trends, social and economical forces that shape the market. That is what Jeff Bezos did when he started and expanded Amazon. The sixth C is criteria. Criteria is used to make your positioning statement successful. It's a set of parameters that the team looks at after they've reviewed the first 5 C's. Your management team gets together, they review the first 5 C's. And each team member share their key findings from the first 5. And so they're sharing that key message from all the other exercises to develop a position statement. Try to make it as simple as possible and try not to have too many elements. It's important to have your entire team on the same page with your positioning. If everyone is not in agreement, it is very possible your messaging will be off target and you won't be as successful. And finally, I want to talk about some of the tools that are provided in the book. There's a couple tools that Ms. Cunningham has developed. First being the company DNA test. The test is a simply formatted survey to help you identify your company's DNA. Ms. Cunningham recommends that all the team members of your management team participate in this process. Most companies think they know their DNA, but most don't. Even Steve Jobs had it wrong when he first started working with Ms. Cunningham. You will be more successful if your DNA and messaging line up. Any of the DNAs can be a dominant player. It is not for missionaries only to be dominant. The book also includes genotype test, and that lets you know which genotype you are to further define your DNA as a mother, mechanic, or missionary, really helping you understand what your company does, what your top customers see as your value proposition, how your company is positioned in the industry, the best way to tell your story. I hope you enjoyed this video today on the book Get to AHA. If you did find it educational and useful, please subscribe to my channel, Why Buy From You. It's focused on sales, marketing, and branding.